pray for you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Okay, Shannon. Yeah, I truly believe that when we depend upon the Lord, our Father in heaven, you know, He will take care of us. And take care means uh, He has promised us eternal life, right? He has promised us eternal life. And the purpose of this life is to obey, to live by His word. So as long as we obey what we know is the truth based on the word of God, then the promise is secure, regardless of what happened to us here on earth, because we know that this life here is only temporary. He has promised us something that which lasts forever. So everybody basically comes to an end, whether still young or an old age, but how we live our life in this lifetime is what really matters. And thank you for the testimony, and hopefully our fellowship here, our gathering together, will strengthen each other and our hold on the word of God. That's the only comfort, and I'm sure that's where you find your comfort, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Shanna.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, and please feel free to ask questions as we study the word. If you want me to repeat, or you don't understand, or you have questions regarding the text that we are discussing, please feel free to do so. If you can raise your hand, so that sometimes there will be traffic of questions, so that we would not there is not too much noise over the other. So if you have questions, just raise your hand, and then we will definitely allow you to ask the questions. Okay. Anyone here in our study? Okay, so we're going to get started. And once again, the title of this study is The Mark of the Beast. We're not going to finish it today. Okay, this is going to be several parts to finish this, especially when we're going to discuss it together. And I'm sure we all have heard the mark of the beast, and we're going to allow the Bible to define what it is. We have our different definition, and I've heard many different definition of what the mark of the beast is, but I want to allow the Bible to interpret itself and define what that mark of the beast is. Okay.
Hi.
A little late
Okay,
tonight,
so
aren't I?
I'm going to share the screen so that you can look at the text together as we study. Okay, the mark of the beast. Okay, so we'll start with Revelation 3:13-16. Okay, so the mark of the beast consists of two words that we want to study. First, what is the mark, and what is the beast, right? What is the mark and what is the beast? Before we study what the mark is, we want to know what the beast is, so that we can identify the mark with the beast, because this mark belongs to the beast, obviously. So we won't know what the mark is unless we know what or who the beast is. So Revelation 13:16, it says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. So here is the mark. And this mark is given. It's given because those who have it must receive it. Okay. So it is given. Okay. Verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the name or the number of his name. So if we don't receive this mark, it says right here that we cannot buy or sell, right? And if we want to buy or sell or eat, because buying and selling, obviously it's for our sustenance. We need to eat, drink, food, shelter, all those things that Christ said shall be added unto you if you seek first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness. We cannot buy or sell unless we receive this mark which belongs to the beast. Okay. So what is the beast? So we're not going to talk about the mark yet. We're just going to talk about the beast. So what or who is the beast? Daniel 7:23 says that the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom. That means a beast is a kingdom, right? The beast or a beast is a kingdom. So what is the mark of the beast? The mark of the beast is the mark of a kingdom, right? Obviously, it has to be a kingdom in Bible prophecy, right? It has to be part of the Bible because the Bible will identify it in the Bible so that we don't have to guess. The Bible will identify what the kingdom is. So the mark of the beast is the mark of a kingdom, or the mark of the kingdom. Okay. So let's continue on. Oops. Jumping. So let's read in Revelation 13, verse 14. We want to know about this kingdom which has that mark. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which had the power to do in the sight of the beast. Is the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast. That means the beast has an image, but we don't want to focus on the image. We want to focus on the beast itself. And this beast had a wound by a sword and did live. So the mark of the beast is the mark of a kingdom, and this kingdom experienced a deadly wound. But the deadly wound was healed. This is the beast which has the mark. Okay. This is the beast which has the mark. Okay. Revelation 13, verse 3, we want to know what kingdom suffer a wound by a sword and did live. Revelation 13, verse 3, it says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. This is the beast. And his deadly wound was healed. There it is. This is the beast which has the mark. Suffer a deadly wound, and the deadly wound was healed or did live. Right? This is verse 3 of Revelation 13. Let's go back to verse 1 and verse 2. Speaking about the beast, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads, which are 7, the name of blasphemy. We're going to talk about all these things, but the next study we're going to talk about the 7 heads, 10 horns, and 10 crowns. We're not going to talk about it at this study, but some of these we will discuss today. Okay. So this is the beast which was wounded by a sword and did live, or had a wound to death, but the deadly wound was healed. This beast came out of the sea, right? and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. We will talk about what blasphemy is later on. Right? And verse 2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave this beast his power, his seat, and great authority. Okay, this is the beast. So the mark of the beast is the mark of the beast of Revelation 13, which came out or came up from the sea, okay, or rise out of the sea. And we will talk about what the sea is, because Bible is full of symbols, especially prophecy. It's all in symbols, and we have to allow the Bible to define to us what those symbols mean. So a kingdom, okay, came up, rise up out of the sea, okay, and this kingdom experienced a deadly wound, and the deadly wound was healed, okay? And this kingdom has this mark, which we know as the mark of the beast, or the mark of the kingdom of Revelation 13, the mark of the beast. Right? Okay, so a little summary of what this kingdom is. Verse 1, it says, this kingdom rise up out of the sea. It has 7 heads, 10 horns, and 10 crowns. It is blasphemous, okay, speaks blasphemy. It has a leopard-like body. It has a mouth as the mouth of a lion. It has a feet, sorry, not feet, feet as the feet of a bear. Okay. Feet as the feet of a bear. And this kingdom receive the seat, the authority, and power from the dragon. We'll find out who the dragon is. Experienced or wounded to death, but the deadly wound was healed. This is the beast. This is the beast which had the mark. Right? Okay, let's continue on. Let's talk about the sea. What is the sea? Because this beast rise up out of the sea. So this kingdom rise up out of the sea. What is the sea? Let's let the Bible explain to us what the sea is. Let's go to Isaiah 17 verse 12. The sea. Woe to the multitude of many people, which makes a noise like the noise of the seas, and to the rushing of nations that make a rushing like the rushing of mighty waters. So what is sea or waters? Multitude, nations, and many people. Let's read Revelation 17:15 as our second witness of what the sea is. 17:15 says, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. Okay, so we go back to this beast which rise up out of the sea. So in Revelation 13:1, if we read this again, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I stood upon the sand of the multitudes of people, because we know that multitudes of people is like the sea, right? And I saw a kingdom rise up out of a very densely populated area on earth, right? Very densely populated area on earth. So Bible tells us where it rose up. It rose up from or out of a very densely populated area. This is the kingdom which has the beast or the mark. Okay, so a kingdom rose up out of a populated or densely populated region. This is the beast which has the mark. Okay, let's go to Daniel 7. Let's take a look at the kingdoms of Daniel 7. Okay. 7 verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, okay, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Verse 2. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea. Here's the sea. Verse 3. And four great beasts, or four great kingdoms, came up from the sea, or a densely populated region, different one from another. The first kingdom was like a lion. The second kingdom was like to a bear. The third kingdom was like a leopard. And they all came up from the sea. And after this, I saw in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast, a fourth kingdom, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. And it devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the other kingdoms or beasts that were before it. And this fourth kingdom had 10 horns. Okay, so we have 4 kingdoms so far in Daniel 7. Which of these 4 kingdoms is the beast that we're looking for? Well, we don't know yet, obviously. We don't know yet. So we're going to have to continue. And it will explain itself. And verse 8, and I considered 10 horns of the fourth beast, and behold, there came up among the 10 horns another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Okay, so we have 5 kingdoms which came up from the sea or the densely populated area. The first was like unto a lion. Second was likened unto a bear. The third, a leopard. And the fourth one, there's no beast on earth that is like unto it. That's why it was described as dreadful and terrible, but we know it had iron teeth. So we have a clue of what the fourth one is like. It is associated with iron, and it had 10 horns. And then came up from among the 10 horns. So it is part of the 10, and then it became another kingdom which came out of the iron kingdom. So it must have the same DNA then, because the other ones, they were diverse from one another. But the fifth one, it came out or came up from the fourth one. So it has the characteristic of the fourth one, although it came up to become separate from the fourth one. Okay? And the little horn plucked up by the roots 3 of the 10. That means this horn became the 8th horn because the 3 were plucked up by the roots. So only 7 left, plus this horn became the 8th horn, which is the 5th kingdom. Okay. And that is very important when we go to Revelation 17, speaking about the 8th one. Okay. Okay, so which of these kingdoms, lion, bear, leopard, and this iron beast, or the little horn is the beast with the mark? Okay, let's go back to Revelation 13. Let's go to Revelation 13. In Revelation 13, it says, the beast like unto a leopard, feet as a bear, mouth as a lion. Wow, it has the characteristic of all of them. And the leopard, the bear, the lion, they all came up from the sea. And this beast also came up from the sea. So which one of the 5 is this beast? Well, we have to continue on because the Bible will explain itself. So far, any questions? Because when we study prophecy, it can get very complicated unless we can follow it closely and understand. It can easily get very complicated. So far, any questions? Anybody with a question? Okay. You have a question?
Uncle, I still don't get it about the 5th kingdom in Daniel 7. From which text did we could find that the 5th beast or the 5th kingdom? Is that only from the text who mentioned another little horn?
Yeah, another. It says another because the first one is a lion and the second is a bear. Another is the leopard and the 4th is dreadful, terrible, and another little horn. Another means what? Something different. And if the previous one was 4th, another is what? After 4.
Okay, Uncle.
Yeah.
So
Right?
it means that the another beast, which is after the 4th, who had the same DNA with the 4th, right?
Yeah, because it came up from the 4th kingdom, which had the 10 horns. Right? So it has the same DNA. It was part of the 4, so it was part of the iron, but it came up to become different because it stood alone as a little horn because it's another. And we will see this in the succeeding text that we will read, that this will be the 5th kingdom.
Okay, Uncle. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see this in other texts. That is going to be number 5. Okay. Did Shannon drop? Yeah, I think Shannon dropped. I don't see Shannon.
Yeah, maybe she got called for the family because tomorrow's gonna be discharged tomorrow. That's why. Yeah.
Okay, it's okay. Okay. Johan, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, Randy. Just questioning the 5th kingdom or lion. Is that not came up from the sea? Because
yeah, they all came up.
Only
from
four
the sea, yeah.
animals. The 5th is not.
Yeah, the 5th is the 5th. If the 4th came up from the sea, and this little horn came up from the fourth, that
Yes.
means it must come up from the sea because the fourth came up from the sea, right?
Okay, yes. Thank you, Ren.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So far, any questions? Okay. Okay. So let's continue. So this beast came up from the sea. No, we know it's not the lion. Why? Because this beast, even though the mouth is like a lion, but the feet as the bear and the body like leopard. So this is basically, this beast has all the characteristics of the beast before it. Right? So it cannot be a lion because it has a bear feet. It cannot be just a bear because it has a lion and a leopard. It cannot be just the leopard because it has the bear feet and a mouth of a lion, right? Cannot be. That means this beast or this kingdom has the characteristics of the previous kingdoms. So we
Yes.
know it's not the first one. It's not the second one. It's not the third one. Is it the fourth one? Well, we cannot make our conclusion yet if it's the fourth one. So it's either the fourth one or the fifth one. For sure, it's not the first, second, or third, although it has the characteristics of the first, second, and third. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but we have not made our conclusion yet, but at least we're getting closer. Okay. So we have a lion, but this beast that has the mark has a mouth of a lion. We have a bear, but this beast, its feet is like unto a bear, mouth as a lion. We have a body, we have a leopard. This beast, the body is like a leopard, okay, but the mouth lion and the feet bear. So it's not the first, second, and third. The fourth one is dreadful and terrible. Okay. Could it be this one? Could it be this one? So it says it had 10 horns, right? 10 horns. So let's go back to Revelation 13, okay? Let's go back to Revelation 13. It says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Here's the 10 horns, right? So is it the fourth one? Is it the fourth one? Okay. Well, the fourth one has 10 horns, right? Has 10 horns. And this beast has 10 horns. At least we can say that it has the 10 horns of the fourth beast. But I don't want to make any conclusion yet because I want to know what blasphemy is. I have to find out where the blasphemy is. This beast that has the mark has the name of blasphemy. So we have to find out where that blasphemy fits, and we know which beast this is. Is the fourth one blasphemous? Well, it doesn't say, so I cannot make that conclusion yet. Okay? Based on the text, I cannot make that conclusion, but it has the characteristics of 1, 2, 3, 4. So could it be number 5? Well, let's keep reading. Okay? And it says, and a mouth speaking great things. Well, we have to know what a mouth speaking great things, and then we'll figure out which one it is. Okay? We're going to find out which one it is. So let's summarize so far. First one is a lion. These are the kingdoms that came up from the sea, or multitudes of people. A lion, and then a bear, and then a leopard, and then a dreadful and terrible kingdom, which has an iron teeth and has 10 horns. This is the fourth kingdom. Right? So no conclusion yet, not yet. So let's go to Daniel 2. Maybe we'll get more information. This beast that has the mark, which kingdom is it? Let's add more information in Daniel 2. Right? Starting with verse 31, we know that the king saw us in a vision, the great image, right? And then in verse 32 says, the image head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron. Here it is. Here's the iron. And iron is number what here? Gold, silver, brass, iron, number 4. So we match with Daniel 7. The fourth one has iron teeth. Here's the iron. And we know that the little horn came up out of the iron. So it has to have iron also, because it came up out of the iron kingdom. It must also have the iron in it. And after the legs, his feet, his number 5. So gold 1, silver 2, brass 3, iron 4, legs, and then feet. Here's the 5th one. Obviously feet has 10 toes, right? Feet, part of iron and part of clay. Yes, this is the little horn of Daniel 7 because it came up out of iron, so it must has that iron, right, in it. It must have that iron in it because it came out of an iron kingdom. So continue on, Daniel 2:38. And Daniel says, thou, and he's talking to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, thou art this head of gold. That means the first kingdom, which is gold, is Babylon. Babylon is gold. Okay, let's summarize right here. Right? Gold, Babylon, and then silver, and then brass, and then iron. And based on Daniel 7, it was dreadful and terrible. It has 10 horns, right? And then the 5th one came out of 4, so it has iron plus clay, and it has 10 toes. The picture is getting clearer, although not complete yet. So let's make a comparison here, Daniel 7 and Daniel 2. Okay, let's make a comparison between Daniel 7 and Daniel 2, right? Daniel 7, a lion, which is gold, Babylon. A bear, silver. A leopard, brass. A dreadful and terrible beast, iron. It has iron teeth, right? And it has 10 horns. Yes, 10 horns. And then a little horn, iron and clay, which has 10 toes. And in Daniel 7, speak great things. So we're combining Daniel 7 and Daniel 2. And this is the picture that we have so far. Okay. Okay. Any question? I'm going to ask questions, a lot of questions, because I don't want to go too far. Just in case you have questions to ask. Any questions so far? Yeah? Any question? Bobby? Stanley? Lydia?
Question.
Yeah, Bobby?
No.
No question? Oh, no question. Question. Anybody else? Alvin? Lydia, go ahead, Lydia.
So far, so good, Uncle.
So far, so good. Okay, that's good then. No
Hello,
problem.
Uncle.
Okay. Yeah, Hija, go ahead.
Sorry, Uncle. I missed why we combine Daniel 7 and Daniel 2.
Well, because a vision is showing the same thing by different symbols. Okay, because the Bible always repeat and enlarge. So when you repeat, you add more information. Repetition and enlargement is how the Bible always explain itself. Okay. Okay, Jicha?
Sorry, Uncle.
What's that, Jicha?
The signal is poor. I mean, like, can you repeat again the answer?
The answer is because that's how that's how the Bible explains itself, by repetition and enlargement.
Mm.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hello,
Bible
Karin.
always have more than one witnesses. It doesn't
Uncle,
explain itself by only one witness. Yeah.
is that because Daniel 7 explain about kingdom and Daniel 2 also explain about kingdom? So we can compare both
Yeah.
of them. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay. I got
that's
it.
right.
Thank you, Uncle.
Even though it was not Daniel who received the vision in Daniel 2, it was the king Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
But Daniel received the same vision, different symbols, and when you combine them, you get a more complete picture of the vision. And then we're going to go to Daniel 8 later.
Okay. Yes, Uncle. I got it. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Go ahead, Stanley.
Hello, Karin. Yeah. To see this comparison from 11 Daniel 7, to Daniel 2, I see the 5 beast when we compare with the 5 with the 2 and 7. Do you explanation? Usually we use bridge or word to explain a similar word, but I couldn't find the similar word between 5. 5 in a 7, a little horns, speaking great things. But in 5 in Daniel 2, iron and clay, and 10 toes. So why we put 5 in the difference, no connection?
Because like I explained to you earlier, in Daniel 7, it says first lion, second bear, and another is the third, which is leopard. And it says the fourth is dreadful, terrible. Okay, had 10 horns, and another little horn. Another was describing third without saying third, right? Which is leopard. It only says another. And then after the fourth one, another little horn. And then when we go to Daniel 2, this another little horn is symbolized as part of the iron, because it has the iron, but it also has the clay, therefore making it different from the iron because it has the clay with the iron, whereas the fourth one only has iron. So you must differentiate between iron and with iron and clay. It's different. And the word another in Daniel 7.
So means even though no same word.
That is the bridge.
Okay.
That is the bridge. That is the bridge. Yeah.
After
That's
based
the
on
bridge.
order.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is the bridge. Because in the third one, leopard is, does it say the third? No, it says another. And yet it's the third. And then another after the fourth is the fifth. And in Daniel 2, you see the fifth is different than the iron because it has the clay. It makes it different, right?
All right. I understand. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll continue unless any questions. Okay. So here it is, okay? A lion, gold, and we know this Babylon, bear, silver, leopard, brass, dreadful, terrible. We know this is 4 because it has the iron and the 10 horns. And we know this little horn is different because this one speaks great things, right? And this iron is different than 4 because it has clay. It has clay, right? Hey, so we have Daniel 7 and we have Daniel 2. Now we want to go to Daniel 8 just to find who is this beast kingdom that has the mark. Okay, this is what we're doing basically. Which kingdom has the mark? We know for sure it came up from the sea, but we have 5 which came up from the sea, right? We have 5 which came up from the sea, and we want to pinpoint which of the 5 has the mark of the beast of the kingdom. And we don't want to make any conclusion yet because we want more information to make conclusion. So based on that, we go to the kingdoms of Daniel 8 now. Right?
Hold on a second.
Go to Daniel 8.
You mentioned 5 kingdom came up from the sea, or you based on the explanation, the previously explanation, it doesn't mean just like the first kingdom. It takes a character, not the natural kingdom. Or you means?
No, it's a kingdom. It's a kingdom because iron and clay is different than iron.
And then came up from the sea, all from first.
Yeah, came up from the
5.
sea.
All right.
Because
Thank you.
Daniel 7, they all come up from the sea. They all come up from the sea.
Oh,
So even though Daniel 2 is not talking about the sea because Daniel 2 is talking about metals. And metals does not represent kingdom. It is the characteristic of the kingdom that came out from the sea.
Okay, clear.
Okay.
Hello, Uncle.
Okay. Yeah, Alvin.
I didn't find 10 horns in Daniel 2, Uncle. You put 10 horns in the fourth order. Iron, 10 horns. Is it because you connected with the 7? Because I couldn't find horns in the Daniel 2.
Yeah, in Daniel 2, there are no horns.
But
What you
connected
have
to
is 10 toes
7.
because 10 toes, because the feet doesn't have 10 horns, the feet has 10 toes, right? That's why I put toes, not horns.
But in the fourth iron, Daniel 2, you put 10 horns.
Well, because iron on the left, iron on the right. That means the fourth one is iron. So automatically, if it has 10 horns, it has to have 10 horns, right?
So you take 10
because
horns
of the
from
iron.
the Daniel 7, Uncle.
Yeah, because of the iron.
Okay.
Because of the iron. Right? Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. So let's go to Daniel 8 to fill in more of the blanks, just so that we have a more complete picture of who or what this kingdom or beast is that has the mark, right? That is going to cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their forehead or in their right hand. Okay? We don't know yet. We know it's either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's more likely 4 or 5, but no definite conclusion yet. So let's go to Daniel 8 verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, we know this is the king of Babylon, the last king of Babylon, a vision appeared unto me after that which appeared unto me at the first. So this vision is after the vision of Daniel 7, obviously, because the first one was in Daniel 7. That was the first vision of Daniel, right? Because Daniel 2 was the vision of the king. It was not Daniel's vision. And Daniel was at Shushan, the province of Elam, and by the river of Ulai when he received the vision of Daniel 8. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, behold, there stood before me a ram. Okay, a ram. And this ram has 2 horns. Wow. We don't have that in Daniel 2 or 7. 2 horns were high. One was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. Okay, this is new. This
Yeah.
is new because we haven't heard any
Totally different.
ram in 2 or 7. No ram at all. So where do we place this ram? And we haven't seen this, so we don't know where to place it. Maybe it doesn't belong anywhere, or maybe it does. Just continue, okay?
Yeah.
We gotta continue to read. Okay. So it has 2 horns, one higher than the other. Okay, let's go to Daniel 8, verse 20. Daniel 8, verse 20 says, the ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia. Okay, at least we know it's Media Persia. So my question is, where do I place Media and Persia without assuming, knowing that, or any preconceived opinion or ideas, right? I don't want to add anything based on my preconceived opinions or ideas. I want the Bible to define exactly and define where I must place this ram. All I know is it's Media and Persia. Okay, where do I place Media and Persia? I know the gold is Babylon, right? Where is this Media Persia ram? Okay, we have to go to Daniel 5, verse 30 to know where to place Media Persia in the 5 kingdoms. In that night was Belshazzar, the king of Chaldeans, slain. Daniel 7:1 says Belshazzar is the king of Babylon. That means Media Persia conquer Babylon. Media Persia conquer Babylon. That means Media Persia is the kingdom after Babylon. How's that?
Yeah.
Got that one? Yes. The Bible just defined itself. I don't have to guess. I don't have to assume. The Bible perfectly defined exactly what it is and where it should be placed in the kingdoms. So first we have the gold, Babylon, and then the silver, Media Persia, having 2 horns, right?
Mm.
Do we have to guess when we study the Bible? Do we have to guess?
Oh.
No.
No.
We don't have to guess. We don't have to guess, right? Okay. And Darius 5:31, Daniel 5:31, and Darius the Median took the kingdom out of the hand of Belshazzar of Babylon, and he was about 62 years old. Okay, so the first king was Darius Median. Right? Go back to Daniel 7. Daniel 7, the second kingdom. What beast or what animal do we see in the second kingdom of Daniel 7? A bear, right? A bear?
Yes.
A bear. Now we know in Daniel 8, the second kingdom is the ram, and the ram has 2 horns, one higher than the other, right? That's the horn, right? Media Persia. One higher than the other. So we're gonna match this with the bear of Daniel 7, which in Daniel 2 is the silver. Okay, we're gonna match it with Daniel 7's bear. Let's see if it match. It should match. Daniel 7 verse 5. And I behold a beast, a second beast, a second one after Babylon, like unto bear. Look here. And it raised up itself on one side. That means if it raised up itself on one side is higher than the other side. Do we have 2 horns, one horn higher than the other?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
So what is the conclusion? Daniel 2, gold is Babylon. In Daniel 7 is the lion. And then Daniel 2, the second one is silver, which is the bear. one side higher than the other. In Daniel 7, sorry, it's silver. In
Eight.
Daniel 7, it's the bear, one side higher than the other. And in Daniel 8, the vision begins with the second kingdom, which is Media-Persia, having two horns, one side higher than the other. So far, we have two kingdoms that we can name: Babylon and Media-Persia. And then leopard and dreadful, terrible beast, the Iron Kingdom, right? So far?
Yes, Uncle.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so after the ram or after Media-Persia, it must be the leopard or the brass. Has to be. And verse 5 of Daniel 8, and as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. So what is this goat? We go to verse 21 of the same chapter. The rough goat is the king of Grecia. We have the third kingdom, guys. The great horn that is between his eyes is the first king, and we know the king of Grecia. The first king is Alexander, or Alexander the Great. So what's the first kingdom? Babylon. The second one, Media-Persia. The third one, Grecia. Well, any of these three, the beast we're looking for, we don't know yet. We don't know yet, right? We don't know yet. I don't want to make any conclusion. At least I have more information about the beast now that came up from the sea, right? So far. Don't worry, you will find it. You will find it. Okay. And this rough goat, okay, this rough goat came to the ram of Media-Persia or Greece, came to Media-Persia that had the two horns, okay, ran unto him with the fury of his power, okay, and smote the ram, break his two horns. So this must be the end of Media-Persia. And then verse 8, therefore the he-goat or Greece waxed great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken. Remember the word broken, because that will be, we're going to see that word somewhere else, right? And for this broken horn came up four notable horns toward the four winds of heaven. So it's still the same DNA, because this four came up from this broken horn. So it is still he-goat. And it was scattered into the four winds of heaven. And out of one of the four winds of heaven, and out of one of the four winds of heaven, came forth a little horn. So this little horn is the fourth horn, right? This is a different one than the four horns, because it came out of the four winds of heaven. So out of one of the direction of the four winds came forth a little horn, different horn, fourth kingdom, and it conquered the south, conquered the east, and conquered the pleasant land. Okay, let's summarize. The first one was Babylon, and then conquered by Media-Persia, and then Media-Persia, the two horns, conquered by Greece, and Greece split into four, and then once they were split into four, another kingdom came up from one of the direction of the wind, became the fourth kingdom, obviously has to conquer Greece, and this little horn, the fourth one, which we know the iron, the 10 horns, right? Remember, iron, 10 horns, and dreadful and terrible, this fourth one, it conquered three. It conquered three, okay? it conquer what direction of the wind? Conquer the south, the east, and the pleasant land. Now, that means this fourth kingdom, the little horn, which is the iron kingdom, it had an earthly or horizontal conquest. South, east, and pleasant land. Earthly conquest, right? South, east, pleasant land. The fourth one, move horizontally, which is an earthly conquest. Remember that, the fourth one. Okay. Let's continue to the next text in verse 9. We expect to see the kingdom number what? After the fourth one, what kingdom? The fifth one. And the fifth one, even though it's similar to the fourth, but it has the DNA of the fourth, right? Remember that? Because it came up from the fourth. Right? Yeah?
Right.
Lydia? Remember that?
Yeah, Uncle.
Yes.
But it has to be different because it's a different kingdom, right? It has to be different. So the fourth one in Daniel 8, it had an earthly conquest. It moved horizontal on earth. So the fifth one, if this is the next one is the fifth one, it cannot move horizontally or earthly because that would indicate the fourth, right? It has to be different. Unless it's describing still the fourth kingdom. So let's go to the next text. Is it the same one or a different one? And verse 10, and it waxed great. This it is whatever this is, to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. Now, my question, is it moving horizontally or vertically?
Vertically.
Vertical.
So is it different? Yes. Is it an earthly conquest or an heavenly conquest?
Heavenly.
Reconquest.
Heavenly conquest. So is it still the fourth kingdom or the fifth kingdom if it's different?
Fifth kingdom.
Fifth kingdom. Fifth kingdom. Because we see difference. Although, yes, there is similarity, the iron part, but it's also a different kingdom. Okay. It moved vertically or heavenly conquest, and the conquest was to the host and the stars of heaven. Okay. Stars of heaven. So let's take a look at this. Daniel 8. Okay. Summary of Daniel 8. Daniel 8 did not mention about the first kingdom. It's jumped straight to the second kingdom. The second was a ram, Media-Persia, having 2 horns. The third one was he-goat, Grecia, divided into 4 regions. And then a little horn, horizontal conquest. And then since it doesn't mention, I'm going to keep it the little horn because in Daniel 7, it's also mentioned little horn. So a little horn, but it had a vertical conquest. So far, okay?
Okay, Uncle.
Okay. Hopefully you can follow along so far because studying prophecy, there's so much stuff you have to put in your bag. There's so much stuff. So far, okay? So who wants to summarize together with me? I'm going to ask somebody to summarize with me so that everyone else can follow along. Anybody wants to summarize with me what we have come up thus far? You good? Okay, you're going to summarize with me. Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay, Uncle. I try.
Okay, so first of all, we want to know what the mark of the beast is, right? What is the mark of the beast, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And there are 2 words that we want to understand. First, the mark, and then the beast. And we just want to study first or find out what the beast is, right?
Yeah.
So next time, we'll talk about what the mark is, because we already figure out what the beast is, or the kingdom, right? So we're going to focus on the beast kingdom, and then we'll talk about the mark some other time, right?
Yep.
So what is a beast? What is a beast?
This is a kingdom or a kingdom based
Okay.
Bible explanation.
Yes. Yes, beast is a kingdom. And what do we find about this beast that has a mark? What do we find about this beast that has a mark?
Okay, because when we found that the beast who had the mark is in Revelation 13, so we figure out.
Yeah, 13. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
go
we
ahead.
figure out what.
Sorry.
How was the beast in Revelation 13? So we go into the beast, Revelation 13, verse 1. There's a beast.
Not yet. Before we go to 1, we have to know something about the beast before we go to verse 1. What about the beast that we find before going to verse 1?
The beast who had the mark experienced something, and it is
What is it?
deadly
What
wound,
was the experience?
or a wound by a sword.
And then finish? That's it? Deadly wound, finish?
And did live.
Okay, so the wound was healed.
Yep.
Right? So this beast which had a mark experienced a wound unto death by a sword, but continue to live.
Yep.
And based on that, where did we go?
We go to the first one.
You mean
no.
verse 1. Huh? Verse
No.
1?
We go into the text who we could find the same characteristic or the same experience that the beast had. And we find it in the
Which
verse
is deadly
3.
wound.
Yep.
Verse 3. Because in verse 3 it says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and the deadly wound was healed. There it is. That's the beast, right? That had the mark, right?
Yeah. Same characteristic.
So that's verse 3. And then we read verse 1 and 2. We see the beast had 7 heads, 10 horns, and on the 7 heads had 10 crowns, mouth as a lion, feet as a bear, body as a leopard, and received power, seat, and authority from the dragon, right?
Yeah.
This is the beast. That's the beast, right? That is the beast that has the mark, right? But that's all we know. So once we read that, okay, so who are you? So the question is, who are you? And he said, well, keep searching in the Bible. Who am I, right? Who are you? Well, keep searching, right? So once we figure out that, what do we do next?
We saw one of the characteristics in Revelation 13. The beast that had the mark is rise up out of the sea.
There you go. Okay, what is the sea representation of?
And after we figure out what sea means, there's 2 witnesses that defines the sea. And the sea means multitudes or many people or some populated region that has many.
Okay, so this kingdom came up from a densely populated region on earth, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's another clue. Based on that fact, where do we go?
We
this
go.
is Chicha actually asked this, and this is the bridge, Chicha.
Yeah. because
Yeah, Uncle.
we see that the beast came
There
out
you go.
from the sea. We
Uh-huh.
find that in Daniel 7, there is beast came out from the sea. So the bridge is
There's
the
the
sea.
bridge. That's the bridge. That's the bridge. Sea is the bridge, right?
Mm-mm.
But in Daniel 7, how many beasts came up from the sea?
It mentioned there are 4 beasts, not only one.
Okay. Okay. Only 4? What's the first one?
So far 4. The
So
first
far, so far, what's the first one? Yes.
The first one is a lion. The
Okay,
lion,
second one,
the bear,
third,
and the third, without saying the third, with the word another, is the leopard.
leopard. The next one,
Fourth is a dreadful and terrible beast, had an iron teeth and 10 horns.
okay, iron and 10 horns. And then what's next? Based on beast that came up from the sea.
From the fourth beast who came out from the sea, we see there's another. Another means different from the previous 4. So
Yeah.
we conclude that from the word another means different, and
Yes.
we can say so far maybe it's the 5th one who came out from the 4th. So it was another little
Came
horn.
up from the 10 horns of the 4th kingdom, right?
Yeah, came out from the 10 horns of the 4th.
Yes. And then what do
The
we know
little
about this
horn.
little horn?
The little horn become the 8th horn after it plucks the tree, the first tree.
Yeah. Yeah. So from 10, it plucked up 3, becomes 7. And because it only has 7 left, this little horn is number 8.
Yep.
If you combine with the 7.
Mm-mm.
And what do we know about this little horn in this text?
The little horn have a mouth speaking great things.
Great things. Yes. Have we defined what that great things mean?
We can see the relation. There is a blasphemy in Revelation 13.
We have not defined yet. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we have not defined it yet. No, don't jump the gun yet. Not yet.
I'm sorry.
We have to allow the Bible to tell us that, because I know you say that because you know the answer, but we have not read that, right? Okay, speak great things. Okay, and then where do we go from there?
We go to Daniel 2, chapter
Okay.
2.
What do we find there?
We find the dream of Nebuchadnezzar, king of
Yeah.
Babylon. There is a great image who have 5 parts.
Okay. Or 5, yeah, of 5 regions in the
Yeah.
body. Yeah, different regions, eh? Yeah. And the first one is what?
The first one gold, second silver.
Did we not? Yeah. Once while we're in the first one, did not Daniel say that thou art the head of gold, and he's talking to King
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar? That means Nebuchadnezzar is king of what kingdom?
Babylon, gold. The gold
Okay,
one.
so the first one is Babylon, for sure. What is the second one? What metal?
Silver,
Okay, the third one?
brass,
The fourth one. Just before you say the fourth one, I just want to remind you that in Daniel 7, it has iron teeth. What's the fourth metal?
Iron.
Ha! We got a match. We
Yeah.
have a match. Iron with iron, okay? So that means the first one, which is Babylon, which is gold, match with the lion. The silver match with the bear.
Bear.
The brass match with the leopard. The iron match with the iron teeth, dreadful and terrible, which had the 10 horns.
Yeah.
What's the next one? After iron, what? Just remind you that in Daniel 7, the little horn came up from the 10 horns, came up from the iron. That means it has the iron property in it because it came up from iron, right?
Yeah.
It has the iron property in it. Daniel 7. And the fifth one in Daniel 2, I want to hear this one.
We find there are iron and clay.
There's the iron part. And we know it's a separate kingdom because it's not just iron, but it has clay, meaning different from the fourth.
Yep.
Right? All right. And then where do we go?
Then we go to Daniel 8, the vision,
Okay.
the next vision after Daniel 7.
Okay. Okay. What did Daniel see in his vision?
First, Daniel see there's a ram having 2 horns,
Okay.
and the higher
Okay.
one came up last.
You mean one is higher than the other?
Yep.
And then the higher one came up last. Okay, do we see anything like that in Daniel 7's kingdom? One higher than the other?
Yeah.
What
it matched
beast?
with the second beast, the bear. The
Okay.
bear has one side is higher than the other side.
Just like the horn higher than one horn higher than the other.
Yeah. It's like
So
that.
it matched the bear then. The ram matched the bear. Do we know what kingdom this ram is? Does Daniel define it for us?
Yes. From Daniel 8 verse 20, it says the ram is the kings of Media and Persia.
Okay, so we know this is the second one. So in Daniel 8, Daniel's vision start with the second one, not the first one. He was in the first kingdom because he was in the kingdom of Belshazzar, but the kingdom was about the next kingdom, which is ram, Media Persia, or bear. And we match that, and now we label it with Media Persia. So the first kingdom is Babylon. The second kingdom is Media Persia.
Media Persia.
What's the next kingdom, or what's the next animal?
The next animal we find there's a he-goat.
Okay, what do we know about the he-goat? Bible tells us what kingdom this is.
Yeah, from Daniel 8 verse 21, the he-goat, the rough goat, is the king of Grisha.
Okay, so obviously this is the kingdom that conquer Media Persia, so it has to be third one. So we got Babylon, gold, lion, right? And then we have Media Persia, silver, bear, ram. And then we have Greece, brass, leopard, he-goat, right? And in Daniel 8, what's next? After he-goat, Greece.
After the he-goat, the great horn of it was broken. It becomes four notable ones toward the 4 winds, and out of the one of the 4 directions of the wind came up a little horn.
Oh, wait, Did we not see a little horn somewhere else?
Yeah,
Did we see a little horn anywhere else? Where?
Daniel 7.
Daniel 7. But this little horn in Daniel 7 was kingdom number what?
The fifth one.
Fifth
Number-
one. But this one is what?
So far,
Fourth.
it's fourth.
Well, I have no problem with that because the fourth is iron, the fifth is iron,
And
the fourth is little horn, the fifth is little horn. So we have a match right there, right? It has similarity, although they are different, right?
Yep.
Okay, little horn. And then what do we know about this fourth kingdom, which is called the little horn of Daniel 8?
The little horn of Daniel 8 has a earthly conquest or horizontally toward the south, east, and pleasant land.
Okay, so what's next? It has to be different to distinguish itself from the fourth one, although it has the same characteristic of iron. What do we know about it?
Okay, because the fourth one has the earthly conquest. So when we see something earthly, it related with the fourth. So the
Yes.
next one, it must be different. And we see in Daniel 8 verse 10, it is heavenly or vertically conquest because it is toward the
Okay,
house of heaven.
and the stars, right?
Yeah.
And we know the stars are in the heavens, not on the earth, right? Okay, so Daniel is picturing, showing us the difference between the fourth and the fifth. One is horizontal conquest, and the other is vertical. Although they both have the properties of iron, and they also are called the little horn.
Little horn.
So let's make a summary of all. Babylon, which is gold, and then lion, okay? And then Media Persia, which is silver. And then we have the bear,
Bear
one
and
side higher
ram.
than the other. And then we have the ram, one horn higher than the other, right? And then we have the brass, which is Grisha, brass, the leopard. And if you read in Daniel 7, the leopard has 4 wings. And then in Daniel 8, in Daniel 7, so wait, no, in Daniel 8, it divided into 4. In Daniel 7, it has 4 wings. And in Daniel 8, it divided into 4 horns. So it has 4 also.
Oh yeah, it has 4 wings.
Right. Yes, that's Grisha. And the next one is iron, has 10 horns. No, just iron. And then Daniel 7 says, dreadful, terrible, iron teeth, and 10 horns. Right? And then in Daniel 8, talks about the horizontal conquest, which is early conquest. And then the next one is iron and clay, right? Iron and clay. And in Daniel 7, it talks about little horn and speak great things, right? We don't want to assume what that is yet. And then in Daniel 8, it has a vertical conquest or heavenly conquest. Vertical, it moves vertically towards the heaven, right? So of all these 5 kingdoms that we have discovered, which one is the beast which has the mark is the question, right?
Yeah.
And I cannot make any conclusion yet. I cannot safely make any conclusion just based on the facts that we have discovered. I'm not comfortable in making any conclusion yet. So we must continue on to figure out which one of these beasts has the mark. Okay. Which one? Although I can strongly assume, but that's all I can say. No conclusion yet. Okay. Any question from anybody else? Thank you.
Okay.
Ellie, go ahead. You have a question, Sam?
No, so far so good. Thank you. You just try to
Okay.
follow,
Okay.
detail
Yes.
with youth and
Yes.
friendly. So it's
Okay.
benefit for me.
Good. Okay. Okay.
Hello, Wong.
So, Brother Alex, go ahead. You have a question. Yeah.
Letter horns in Daniel 8, it means paganism Rome, pagan Rome, or
No,
or
no, Brother Alex, we cannot make any conclusion. If it's not said in the Bible, we don't want to say it. Okay.
all right. Okay. Thank you.
No,
I'm sorry.
we guard very closely any assumption made outside of anything that has been discovered. So we don't want to say anything unless it is
Okay.
specified in the Bible. Okay.
Okay. Wait.
Okay. Okay. Because we want to find it and make a conclusion based on our findings. We don't want to add anything, although we know what the answer is, but we want to study because everybody's going to be watching also, and they need to learn how to come up strictly, purely from the Bible. Okay. No preconceived ideas or any assumption. Okay. Okay. Let's go continue. Okay. Let's continue. Okay. So this is the conclusion so far. Daniel 2, Daniel 7, Daniel 8. Okay, you can you read the conclusion? Thank you. 2,
Okay, so
7, 8.
we have compared 3 different chapters of Daniel. The first one, we see Daniel 2. We see from Daniel 2. There's a 5 different region of the image. The first one is gold, and the gold is matched with the lion in Daniel 7.
Hmm.
And it is Babylon, kingdom of Babylon. The second one from Daniel 2, the second metal is the silver, which is matched with the bear in Daniel 7. And it is parallel also with the ram, which is the Media Persia in Daniel 8. So we see that the Media in Persia is the second after the Babylon, and the Media in Persia also who conquered Babylon, the first one. And the third after Media Persia, we see from Daniel 2, it is the brass, which is matched with the leopard in Daniel 7. And it is parallel also with the goat, he-goat or rough goat in Daniel 8, which is Grisha, who had the 4 regions, has the 4 winds, and had the 4 wings also in Daniel 7.
Yes.
And then after Grisha, we see the 4th metal in Daniel 2. It is iron, and it is matched with the 4th beast in Daniel 7, the dreadful and terrible beast, because the beast, the 4th one, has the iron teeth.
Yes.
As the metal in Daniel 2. And it has 10 horns also. And the beast, the 4th beast, is matched with the little horn in Daniel 8. And the little horn, the 4th, has a horizontal conquest or earthly conquest toward 3 parts. And the 5th one, after the 4th, we see from Daniel 2, it is iron and clay in the 10 toes. and it is matched with the little horn in Daniel 7.
Mhm.
And it is parallel also with another, no, not another, but little horn also in Daniel 8, who had the vertical conquest. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Yud. So we're gonna take advantage of the difference between the little horn, which is the heavenly conquest. We want to know what heavenly conquest means, meaning it is or speaking great things. So could there be a similarity? Has to be, because it's the same kingdom. Heavenly conquest, right? With speaking great things. It must be speaking great things towards heaven, right? If it's a heavenly conquest. So let's see if that actually matches, okay? Hey, you understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to see speaking great things with heavenly conquest. Is it speaking great things against heaven? Okay, so take a look at this one again. Okay. Okay. Well, actually, you already made the conclusion yet, but I'm going to read again. Babylon, gold, lion. Medo-Persia, silver, bear, ram, 2 horns, one side higher than the other. Grecia, brass, leopard, divided into 4 regions or 4 wings. 4th one, dreadful and terrible, iron teeth. Little, not litty. Okay. Little horn, 10 horns. Horizontal conquest, little horn, the 5th one, which is iron and clay, part of the 4th kingdom. Vertical conquest and has 10 toes. So let's take a look at the vertical conquest. Okay, Alvin. So far, okay, Alvin. Alvin.
Yeah, Uncle. Yeah, Uncle.
Okay. Okay, vertical conquest. Vertical conquest is kingdom number what, Alvin?
5th.
5th. Yes, vertical. Okay. Let's take a look at the 5th kingdom, Daniel 8:10. Okay. And it wax great. Wax great means very prideful. The Hebrew word is gadal, right? You know that? Very prideful. Even to the host of heaven, and cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground and stamp upon them. Obviously, this is symbolic because you cannot conquer somebody in heaven and then pull them down to the earth. It is a symbolic or spiritual conquest against heaven, right? It is only a symbolic language, of course. Okay, let's take a look at Daniel 7:8. And this is the another little horn, another. Because the 3rd one is another, and we see it's the 3rd. This one, another, is the 5th because it's after the 4th, right, Yud?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. And this one has a mouth speaking great things. Okay, let's see if we can match this heaven and speaking great things. Okay, because if we get it, then we know which kingdom that has the mark. Right? We will get it big time. Okay. Okay, 13:1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea. Here's the sea, many waters, and saw beasts rise out of the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns. Upon his 7 heads, 10 crowns. Upon his heads, the name of blasphemy. Okay, blasphemy. Okay, what is this blasphemy? You want to assume, or you don't want to assume what blasphemy is? Not yet, right?
No, not yet.
Oh, no blasphemy yet, please. Okay. Okay, let's find out what the Bible has to teach us about blasphemy. Okay, we have 2 texts in the Bible that teach us about blasphemy. Okay, Mark 2:7 and John 10:33. This beast, we know this beast. We know Revelation 13:1 is the beast with the mark, right? We know that because of the deadly wound and healed, right? We know that.
Yeah.
We just don't know which of the 5 beasts of Daniel 7, 2, and 8 matches this Revelation 13:1 beast. Because once we have the bridge then we know which of the 5 is this beast of Revelation 13, which has the mark, right?
Yep.
Okay. What is blasphemy? You forgive sin, and yet only God can forgive. So that means a man claiming to forgive sin when it is the prerogative of God. Oh, do we see the heaven here, you? We see the heaven? Only God alone? So
Yeah.
is this an attack on heaven, youth? Is this an attack on heaven?
Uh-uh.
An attack on heaven, right? And then John 10:33, you said, for good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy. What is blasphemy? Thou being a man, makest thyself God. Another heavenly conquest, youth.
Yeah. Mhm.
Another heavenly conquest, Alvin. You see this?
Mm.
Vertical, right? Vertical. Okay. So we have some ideas of this heavenly conquest. So is this beast number 4? Alvin, beast number 4? Heavenly conquest?
No,
No.
this number 4,
Which
number
one?
5, the 5th.
Number 5. Okay, let's continue on. Okay. Remember, the best way to study is don't assume anything, right?
If the
Okay. You being a man, right? You being man, make us thyself God. Okay. Ezekiel 28 verse 2. Son of man, say to the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord God, because thine heart is lifted up, or wax great, or gadal. Thou hast said, I am God. Oh, is this an attack on heaven? Vertical conquest. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the multitudes of people, yet thou art a man. Is this blasphemy? Is this blasphemy?
Blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
And is this a vertical conquest? Indeed.
Yes.
Are we more confirmed that it's the 5th kingdom that has the mark of the beast? Yes, so far?
Yes.
Yes,
So
indeed.
far.
Yes. Daniel 11:36. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt. Exalt is what? Lifted up himself, gadal, prideful, and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak, youth, speak marvelous things. Remember? Speak great things.
Great things.
Number 5, youth. Number 5. Against
Yeah.
the God of God. This is the 5th beast. The mark of the beast is of the 5th beast, youth.
Mm.
2 Thessalonians verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day, which is the coming of Christ, second coming of Christ, shall not come, except 2 things, a falling away first, or an apostasy, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. We know man is, thou being a man, maketh thyself God. Man is blasphemy. Sin is you war against the law of God, because sin in 1 John 3:4 is the transgression of the law of God. So you being a man, you make thyself God, and yet you're a man, and you transgress the law of God. This is the 5th kingdom. Man of sin.
Absolutely.
The man of sin is the mark of the beast. Alwin. Go for Alwin, okay?
Wow.
Man of
Yeah.
sin is the beast who had the mark. Right?
Yes, this is the man of sin. We don't make any conclusion. The Bible spells it out for us perfectly. 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 4. Who opposeth, exalteth himself above all that is called God, and he wants to be worshipped as God although he's a man of sin. He, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God, 100% vertical heavenly conquest. Fifth kingdom is the beast that has the mark. Let's go back to Revelation 13, verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto leopard, his feet were as the feet of a bear, his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Next time we'll study why is the fifth beast having the body of different beast. Okay, that means this beast has the characteristic of lion in the mouth, bear in the feet, leopard part of the body, and all this combined together is the man of sin beast, which has the mark and receive all his power, his seat, authority from the dragon. So far, okay? (13:3). And I saw one of his heads, because we know it has 7 heads, right? Wounded to death. Here it is. This is the beast that will cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. When his deadly wound was healed, this beast will cause all to receive the mark on their forehead or in their hand. And if they don't receive, you cannot buy or sell. And verse 14, you shall be killed if you don't receive it. And verse 4, 13:4, and they worship the dragon, which gave power unto this beast, and they worship the beast. Okay, do we have worship in Revelation 13? Yes.
Yes.
And if you don't worship the image of the beast, you shall be killed. Guess what? When this beast, before the deadly wound, it also solicit worship. If you worship the beast, you worship the dragon.
The dragon. Just like
If you worship the son
the son,
of
we
perdition, you worship the father of lies. Remember yesterday?
remember.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it says right here, and this fifth beast who solicit worship, says, who is like unto this beast, who's able to make war with him? Verse 5 about this beast. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, heavenly conquest, and powers given unto him to continue 42 months. Verse 6, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy. He claimed to forgive sin, and he said he is God on earth, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. Heavenly conquest. Which kingdom of the 5 kingdom which came up from the sea is the beast that has the mark? Which one?
The fifth.
This one. The 5th kingdom. The 5th kingdom is the 5th kingdom. Well, at least we know the 5th kingdom. Who is the 5th kingdom? All we know is the man of sin.
Of sin.
Who wants to be worshipped as God. And we cannot make assumption, conclusion, unless we have discovered from the text, from the Word of God. Don't say who it is, what the mark is. Let the Bible explain to us what it is, as we have done to figure out what the beast is or who the beast is, right? It's pure from the Bible.
Right.
So do we have a lot to study about this beast? A lot. We just got started. We have just got started, guys. It's just the beginning of our study. Okay. So let me see. Let's let's take a look at the conclusion so far. Okay, Yud, I would like for you to read the conclusion again. Okay, this conclusion.
Okay, Uncle.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So the conclusion so far, we find there are 5 kingdoms who came out of the sea. The first one is Babylon, the second one Persia, the third is Grecia, the fourth dreadful and terrible beast who had iron property, had 10 horns, and it called also as the little horn, and had a horizontal conquest or earthly. And the fifth is the beast of the Revelation 13, who had the iron also, but it has the clay, which differentiate from the previous one.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it had the vertical conquest or heavenly attack toward heaven or God. And it does blasphemy or solicit worship. And it is the same with man of sin, who, when we see there's a man or a created being, but make it thyself as a god or defy the law of God. And he had the power of 42 months to
did we read the 42 months? Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Huh? Oh yes, we did.
Not yet.
Yeah, 3-5. Yes, 3-5 right here. 3-5.
All right. Okay.
3-5. Yeah, the 42 months. Right. Yeah, it has the 42 months. Okay. So the time period given to this fifth beast was 42 months, right?
Time period. Yeah.
And this is the beast that has the mark. So whosoever receiveth this mark receiveth the mark of the fifth beast. Right. So we must figure out what his mark is. Then we know exactly what the mark of the beast is. Otherwise, we just say, well, it's this, it's that, it's that. Well, whatever suits you, then that's what it is. And yet the Bible exactly defines to us exactly what the mark is, because we figure out who or what the beast is. Okay. Any questions so far about anything? Pak Study maybe has a question. No question?
No question. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stanley.
In the other word, to say the mark of the beast, we can see in the fifth beast, right? And then this is the new term that I have, vertical conquest. And then the vertical, it's really a big point for me because it's against too high to the north and directly to God, blaspheme, and try to pretend as a God. Try to pretend as God, and
that's blasphemy.
That's the blasphemy. And forgive as a man, forgive sin.
Forgive
It's
sin.
impossible, actually.
Oh,
and to compare with the fourth beast, only has a horizontal conquest. So it's really give another explanation, the difference 4 and 5. It's very clear.
Yes.
This is the increase
that's good, Stan.
of knowledge.
Yes, that's good.
It's a wonderful message.
Yeah, it's good that you can see clearly the difference and to be able to differentiate between the fourth one and the fifth one, because the hardest one is to differentiate between the fourth and the fifth. 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4 is easy, but 4 to 5 because the fifth one came out from the 4, so it's kind of hard to differentiate because it is part of the 4 and yet it is separated from the 4. That's why it's a little bit hard to identify the fifth one without you can identify the fifth one. Just make sure that don't allow the fact that there are similarities with the 4 that will cause you to say that it is still part of the 4th.
Yeah.
Okay. So Gaur, any question, Gaur?
I'm here.
Okay. No questions? All clear then? Yeah. Okay, Alvin. Go ahead, Alvin.
Uncle, so the fifth kingdom is the man of sin, and
No,
Mhm.
no questions. Everything
Okay,
is
no
clear.
question, no problem. All right. Okay. Good. Okay. Go ahead, Alvin. Alvin, sorry.
he divide against the law of God, but he himself
Yeah.
also he think that he can forgive sins. So he, man of
Yeah.
sin, he divide against the law of God, and also he can
Yeah.
forgive sins. He make the sins
Mhm.
and he can forgive his own sin. It's like that. The meaning of blasphemy.
Well, man means you claim to be God, and only God can forgive sin. But if you claim to be God, then you say you can also forgive sin.
And at the same time, he did also the law of God.
Yeah. At the very same time, he is basically defying the law of God. So he makes his own law, and we will
Yeah.
study in our next study how he is called the man of sin. Why is he called the man of sin? Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Om Johan, go ahead. Om Johan.
Yes, yes, yes. So very clear.
Yeah, go ahead, Om Johan.
How the
Yeah, very
differentiate
clear, Om Johan.
between. Uh,
Yeah.
can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
very clear now that make
Yeah,
differentiate the 4th
yeah.
and the 5th
In the Philippines.
is the
Yeah.
concure. The 4th is
Yeah.
on the horizontal, and the 5th
Yes.
is vertical. Very clear now.
Yes.
So
And based on Daniel 2, the 4 is only iron. The
yes.
5th is iron and clay.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it has the property of number 4, but it has additional property which the 4th one does not have.
It's the clay. Yeah.
Is the clay. And we
Yes.
will find out what those things are in our next study. Everything we will figure out from the Bible,
Okay. Praise God.
so that we know for sure exactly what is the mark of the beast and how. We're going to study also how not to receive the mark of the beast. Well, of course, we have not studied this, but I have to say to you right now, and everybody who's going to listen, and we will prove this from the Bible, the vaccine is not the mark of the beast, although the vaccine leads us to receiving the mark of the beast. Okay?
Yes.
Yes. The vaccine is not the mark of the beast. The vaccine basically leads us into receiving the mark of the beast, and we will prove that 100% from the Bible. Although not tonight, because tonight we're just going to figure this one out. Alvin, go ahead.
So there are two little horns, right, Uncle, from Daniel 8, the first 8 and the first 9. But from the first 8, it says both verses are the little horns, but they are different. And we differentiate between them because the 8th verse, it says from, wait, oh no, 9 and 10, 9 and 10, I'm sorry. Little horn from the first 9, it says south, east, and pleasant land. Even though it says in the first 10 also little horn, but it differentiate because third, it says the south, east, and pleasant land, but in the first 10 it says host of heaven, even though both of them regarding little horn. Is it correct, Uncle?
Yeah, so to differentiate, don't use the little horn to differentiate because there's no difference in the little horn. The difference is the conquest. The direction of the conquest is what differentiate between the little horn of 9 and little horn of 10.
Okay.
Which Johan just said earlier.
Okay.
Right? Okay, that's good. Okay.
No, Uncle.
So, yeah, Alwin, go ahead.
Sorry if I miss about the explanation, but is it possible, right, when we think that the kingdom that do the earthly conquest also do the heavenly conquest? Are we allowed to think like that?
It's possible, but the problem is it doesn't say that. So how can we make that conclusion?
Oh, okay. That's why we need to
We
learn.
don't want to make a conclusion. Yeah, we cannot say, well, there's a possibility it's going to have a heavenly conquest, so let's just make the conclusion. Well, that's the best way to get confused, I guess.
Okay. That's why we cannot make a summary just only from the Daniel 8, right?
Because if I read and I say he is drinking water, he drank water, and they said, well, he likes soda too, so he probably drank Coca-Cola. Well, it doesn't say in the text that he drank Coca-Cola. How can I make a conclusion that he drank Coca-Cola when the book says he drank water, right? I cannot make, although he might drink Coca-Cola or any other drink, but in the book says he drank water. That's the conclusion I have.
When in Daniel 8 verse 10 it says, and it wakes great, itu how we explain that?
Well, it wax great is it's great unto heaven. That's the greatness of going vertical conquest. That's the greatness of the godalness. The pride is it conquer heaven, or it conquest. Its conquest is vertically. That's the waxing great. Okay.
Okay. The word it's refer to the first 9, or the words it and verse.
If it doesn't, if verse the first previous to it says little horn, it doesn't specify what, and based on the last one, we continue the last one. Especially when in Daniel 7, the 5th one is called little horn.
Yeah. That's why we need compare with Daniel 7.
Yeah. Here a little, there a little. Isaiah 28, right? Line upon line, here a little and there a little. That's how you come up with conclusion, by putting the pieces together from different parts of the Bible. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, if no more questions, we're gonna close it here. And there is a likelihood that we will continue this tomorrow, right? We will continue this tomorrow. Okay. Okay, everybody? Okay. So if no more questions, then we're gonna end it. Lydia, did you have any question?
I'm still digesting the last one. I'm
Okay.
trying to see the bridge so that we start in Revelation, right, Angga? Revelation, and we
Yes.
all that we have to know there is the beast that has the mark, and then we
Yes.
go to
Yes.
Daniel to see some chapters there, and we see the comparison, and then after that we uh we in the fifth kingdom we have the bridge, which is the speak mouth speaking great things. Is it the bridge that
Yeah.
we use to go to the to go back to the Revelation 13, and then so we can conclude that the beast that has the mark is the fifth beast that has
Yeah.
the characteristic
Yep.
which is a mouth speaking great things.
Yes, because in Revelation 13, it's actually combined Daniel 7's and Revelation 13, which is speaking blasphemy, right?
Oh,
Because in
so that
Revelation 13, it says it has a mouth speaking great things and it blasphemes. So it combines Revelation 13 with Daniel 7 because it has a mouth that speaks great things.
okay.
Yeah.
So a
So
mouth
you,
speaking
yeah.
great things equals blasphemy, Uncle. Blasphemy.
Yes, because in Revelation 13, it actually says it has a mouth speaking great things and it blasphemed against God and his tabernacle. So it has the bridge in Revelation 13, right?
Okay, we just gathering the information from Daniel, and then we go back to Revelation, and then we establish that the beast that has the mark is the fifth beast, which has the characteristic great speaking, mouth speaking great things, and it equals with blasphemy, and then it's the man of sin. Okay.
Well, to start the blasphemy, basically, we want to know what blasphemy is, and then once we know what blasphemy is, we see that it is a vertical heavenly conquest because it wants to remove God and placing itself in the seat of God. So that's the heavenly conquest, and we match that with Daniel 8 because we have the heavenly conquest, and that's blasphemy. So once we have the speaking great things, and then we know that's blasphemy, and blasphemy is against God. That's the vertical conquest. There you go. And then we go to Revelation 13. We have all of that in there.
We have. Okay. Now I can see the big picture. Thank you, Angka.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. Obviously, you guys have to go over it again, right? You have to go over it again. Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah. To make sure that is the beast in 13, the Revelation 13, combine the three beasts in Daniel 7's characteristics.
Daniel 7 characteristic. We have not discussed that, although I mentioned about it earlier, but that will be in another study. What does it mean to have one beast that has a mouth of a lion and feet as a bear and body as a leopard and receive power, seat authority from the dragon? That we will discuss in some other study.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, we'll continue this tomorrow, okay? We will continue this tomorrow. Yes, I will continue because if we continue this next week, there's too much time lapse between now and next week. So I want to continue this tomorrow so that we will continue the concept today with tomorrow so that we have a bigger picture tomorrow. So, and then after tomorrow, maybe the next day we will continue probably the life of probation or the other one. What's the other one called?
Eternal.
No, life eternal. Spiritual warfare, eternal life. I think I'll just stop right there because I don't want to continue that unless there's something else. But eternal warfare now, spiritual warfare is now okay. So, but tomorrow I would like to continue this one so that we have 2 days in a row speaking of this somewhat complicated topic. Okay. Okay. So we're going to you. Yeah. You say something? No, somebody? No, yet? No? Okay. Okay, so we're gonna close, okay? We will close. So let's all bow our heads and close for the study, okay? Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for the time that you have given us, the life that you granted us to live, to glorify you. Every breath we take in, we want to glorify you by living according to your will, speaking your words, and then living a life that is acceptable in thy sight. We know as man, it is impossible for us to obey, but we know that Christ has come to become man and given us an example as man, completely dependent upon Father in heaven, and through Christ we may receive the same power which was given to Christ, and through Christ we may receive the very same strength, power, and grace that enable us to live a Christ-like life on earth. We know we are living the very last days. We know Satan is astir. He is destroying a lot of lives. He wants to destroy the image of God, and we know wants to be worshipped as God, but God has already conquered him through Jesus Christ, and through his people in the last days, Satan will also not have his victory, but be defeated by the grace of God. Thank you, Lord, for prophecy, which shows us exactly what beast and what the mark is, although we have not studied it today, but we will. If you are willing, tomorrow we continue to figure out more of this beast so we know what it is. We don't want to just hear and make our conclusion based on what people say, but we want to make our conclusion based on thus said the Lord, it is written. Thank you, Father, for the Zoom meeting and or the connection going clear, and all were able to benefit from the manna from heaven. May we be filled from the bread of heaven and join once again together tomorrow to study more of your word. Thank you for hearing and answering prayer, Father. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay,
Amen.
everybody.
Thank you.
That's our study.